Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Tribal Trades, the daily show coming at you from the great state of Florida. One hell of a drug. And I do want to welcome you to the channel wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Thanks for watching. Today, the title of the show is, Can Bitcoin win the trade war? Who is going to win the trade war? What is going to happen with the trade war? Right now, we have a fierce trade war going on, particularly between USA and China. That just escalated overnight. We'll look into that. We'll look at the effect on the market. We'll look at the charts. We'll talk about Bitcoin and a whole bunch more. But before we do that, smash the like button. This does help get this channel out to more people and does help support the channel, as does your wonderful comments that you leave. Thank you so much. You take the time to write them. I take the time to read them and respond. So let's jump into some of the news that we have here. And first of all, some of the S&P 500. It has never been up 4% or more during the day and closed down more than 1%. So first time in history is being made. Is this a buying opportunity, or is it time to cut and run from the stock market? Although Ryan Dietrich believes that, call me crazy, I think this will be year 4, because only 3 times has it come back to finish the year positive when it was down at least 15% at some point during the year. The other years were 82, 09, and 2020. What do you think? Do you think that the S&P 500 will come back, make a comeback, and finish the year green? If you do, it's probably a good time to buy. And then, of course, we had the insanity here. Of course, we're at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. While most were sleeping, additional tariffs of 50% were imposed on Chinese imports to the US. 7 hours later, China just announced new tariffs of 50% on US imports. So the US government, boom, more tariffs. China's come back with more tariffs. What is the US government going to do? Are they going to come back with more tariffs? This is really just insanity at the moment. But is it a good buying opportunity in the meantime? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so Bitcoin short-term holders are selling at losses bigger than during the FTX crash. It's the short-term holders that are capitulating. That usually signals that we are close to or at a bottom, okay? Generally, when these times have happened, it has marked local bottoms in the market. The short-term are selling, but the long-term holders, the diamond hands, they just aren't holding. They're thriving. Even after this brutal crypto bloodbath, 76% of Bitcoin supply is still in profit. And the reason why people call it a bloodbath is because most people are in alts, even though Bitcoin has outperformed most of the altcoin market. And of course, if you look at Bitcoin overall, you know, stocks like Tesla, I believe, are probably around 50% down from their all-time highs. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin would need to be at about 55,000. So it's actually holding up pretty well. And speaking of not holding up pretty well is Ethereum. And I did warn people about Ethereum. People back in July of 2024, just a couple of months after I started this channel, that I was selling out of all of my Ethereum. Really, it just didn't feel investable to be in a token where ETH Foundation was able to mint tokens out of thin air, just print it and dump it on retail, suppressing the price and enriching their own pockets. And so it just got out of it. Of course, it's slow, it's expensive, it needs layer 2s to prop it up. I mean, there's all sorts of other things there going on as well. And I did warn people about that. And of course, there are rumors now that World Liberty, who had said, hey, buy Ethereum when it was at 2,900, is actually now panic selling their holdings and possibly sitting at a loss of, they're sitting on a loss of about 125 million. And somebody, they think it's World Liberty, sold 5,000 ETH, 8 million, about 30 minutes ago. So that would be very interesting if they are now panic selling their Ethereum there, of course. And again, other rumors that I do see going around is that Strategy filed an 8K form with the SEC on April 7th, stating that if the price of Bitcoin continues to fall, the company may be forced to sell its Bitcoin. It was found that this statement is standard risk disclosure practice and also appears in the 10Q report for quarter 2024 and reports of 2023 and earlier, and it's not a special case. So this is just FUD going around. This has been in place since 2023 and 2024, but you see so-called reputable accounts posting that MicroStrategy is going to get liquidated of its Bitcoin, and this is a big red flag warning signal. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So that's very interesting. So that's just a little bit of a reality check on some of those posts that I see absolutely circulating everywhere, that this was something new. It's not new. It's been in previous disclosures and previous filings as well. I think it's very well possible that they sell their Bitcoin, because of course they can. It's in my opinion, it's quite unlikely for that to happen there, and it's just a usual disclosure there. Which brings us to Bitcoin. Just in, 12 billion asset manager Bitwise CIO says, I think the answer to who wins this currency war is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is set up to rally significantly, and this might be the case. So let's look at the charts. Let's talk about what could be going on here. In the charts, we have Bitcoin, and of course, as we can see here, we are under the 50-week moving average just. And remember, the 4 signs that I'm looking for a bear market is 1, the 50-day going below the 200. That's the death cross. That's happened. Number 2 would be a full weekly candle close below the 50-week moving average. That hasn't happened yet. This was last week. It didn't close this week, hasn't closed yet, so we don't know. So that's number 2. We need to see a full weekly candle close below the 50-week moving average. Signal number 3 is a 50-week full open and close weekly candle below the 50-week moving average. So only trigger point 1 has happened. 2 might happen, and then we'll have to see. We'll have to wait for a full week whether we see an open and close below it. And then, of course, trigger point number 4 is on a dead cat bounce or relief rally, depending on whether you feel we're in a bull run or not, would be a rejection at the 200-day moving average if there was a rejection there. So far, we've only seen one of those things happen, which is the death cross. We'll see what happens at the end of this week. Sunday is when the market weekly candle closes at about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe, or is it 7 p.m.? You can check that. It's always 12 UTC time. So just check whatever time that is in your time zone, 12 UTC time. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, obviously, we have some risks to the downside, and the risk is still to the downside. We are in a downtrend, but you can make money when the market goes down. Okay, you can make money. If you were an ETH holder, you could have sold. You could have sold when World Liberty Finance tweeted to buy Ethereum. It was at 2,900. You could have sold it and made money all the way down. You would have been 50% in profit. I actually gave a short in the Discord yesterday to short Ethereum from 1479 down to 1325. So far, that short is playing out quite nicely. It actually moved quite a bit down. Maybe some of you got stopped out in profit. I know some of you took that short there as it dropped all the way down to around 1390 there. Of course, if there is some kind of rally or good news, be prepared to flip long. And on a 1479, you could ride this up to a nice take profit level there of about $1,600 there as well. So there's a couple of little plays there. If the market continues to go down, this short could play up quite nicely to 1325. And if the news does flip positive and we see a bit of movement in the market, we could see a nice little long play there up to from 1479 up to 1604. And of course, if this just continues to go down, you can keep your short open and stay in profit, just like it did here as it just continued to capitulate to the downside. And if we have some kind of revival with Bitcoin, I would think there would be some short-term upside for Ethereum where you might be able to see this come up a little bit here. But that was one of the plays that we gave in the Discord. Many plays, both stocks and crypto, given in the Tribal Trades Discord, as well as live trading sessions. If you'd like to find out more, there are links below in the description where you can get started there. I'm also on the Stocks with Josh Discord as well, where I have my own Crown Traders channel in there, where I share education, insights, resources, some of my trade setups. We also teach some leverage trading in the Stocks with Josh Discord as well. and there are education in there for that for you, as well as entertainment, of course, because I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. Are you not entertained? And you can stay entertained in this grim market by making money on the way down, because we are in a downtrend. So we want to trade the trend to the downside, and the trade is short. And you can learn how to short responsibly. I teach how to do that. We even have the Leverage Lounge in the Tribal Trades Discord, aka the party zone, which seems to never shut down. There always seems to be somebody in there trading, making money, helping each other out. Great Tribal Trades family, as is the Stocks with Josh family, to the great families that you can be a part of. And there are both links for both Discords below in the description. You might just need to click the more button and that will pop out. Okay, so the risk is to the downside here. And of course, if we have rejected here. So the short is in play from about 76,700. That was the short play I gave yesterday. And that moved beautifully to the downside. And of course, we could continue. The next stop down is 73,400. Okay, that's a very significant level. That's where we got. That was the top in March of 2024. And of course, we could come down to the 2021 all-time high at about 69,000 there. And then the 20 EMA on the monthly is just a little bit below that at 67. Now, of course, you might ask, well, if we come down to those levels, doesn't that mean that the bull market is over? Possibly. But we could have a really long wick come down like we saw here. Look at this wick that came all the way down. It's still going. I can't even find the close. There it is up there. The wick that went from 94,000 all the way down to 78 in 1 week. It was a $16,000 wick. We could see that kind of a wick where we go down and then we come back up and still we close above the 50-week moving average. We could also have a situation as well where this candle continues to the downside this week. We close under and then we make our way back up the following week, and we open back above the 50-week moving average. So, but of course, those are scenarios that we haven't even seen a weekly close under. We haven't seen 73,400 get tagged yet. And at this point, while the trade tariff war continues, I would not be surprised if we came down. I think it's more likely. The risk is more to the downside. I think it's more likely that we do come down and tag this level. But of course, at any moment, it all could be resolved and everybody could shake hands and be friends. And I think that would make a huge pump rally to the upside. Bitcoin would go on an absolute tear. Right now, if the news were to break, the tariff war is over, China and US are both dropping the tariffs to zero or something like that, we would see Bitcoin just completely not capitulate, but catapult out of here. So just be aware, this is a very much news-driven cycle there. And of course, if we do see some moves to the upside, then we do have some resistance above the 20 EMA and the daily around. Look, here's the deal. There are a few resistances here, but until we break back above this 200-day moving average sitting at 86, the risk is still to the downside. Where am I going to start getting bullish, and where there would be an uptrend and the trend has changed, a break above 86, a full weekly candle open and close above this 86,000, and I would say bull market resumption, and then of course, you know, the deal for the bear market. Let's look at the yellow brick road, because we're going to follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And then, of course, we do have a bit of a double bottom here. Interesting enough, the liquidity is to the upside there, 88,000. Really, at this stage, I'm looking at the 6 month. That seems to be the one that is guiding. And this is what I've been warning for so long, for so many months, that this liquidity was down here. And I warned that if I was the market maker, I would come and get that liquidity. And that's what I thought was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. There's still a little bit left down there at 73. Maybe they just tease around and don't go and get that. If I'm the market maker, I absolutely come down and get that. There are billions of dollars down there, maybe about 10, 15 billions of dollars just sitting down around there. Of course, there is some to the downside here. I do feel that if we do come down this low, that the bull market might be over at that point, And so I'm not sure if that gets taken until later in the bear market. That might get left behind because there is just too much above 89,000, 95,000, 100,000 and 110,000. There is just so much liquidity to the upside. I was asked yesterday in the Discord what my feelings were. My feelings are that still I am leaning towards that we are in a bull market and a bull market resumption. And until circumstances changes such that I do not feel that we are, and of course I will let everybody know here, I do think that even though in the short to medium term the risk is more to the downside, I do think in the long term we do see some rally to the upside there at some point and start to take out some of these levels to the upside from there. But until we get back over that $86,000 level, I don't think a new all-time high is going to be in for Bitcoin. Maybe the top will end up being in, and maybe we'll get that weekly candle that opens and closes below the 50-week moving average. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And of course, until the next episode or until I see you on the Discord, happy trading.